Hi there, with the new Kindle Paperwhite coming out very soon, there's a lot more attention being placed on storage capacity. The baseline Kindle Paperwhite coming out only has 8 gigabytes of storage, whereas the Signature Edition has 32 gigabytes of storage. That is a massive difference between the two models. In reality though, Kindles don't require much storage capacity. They're one of the few devices left in the modern world that don't need much storage space, but it's very understandable people are concerned about getting the right one because you can't upgrade the storage after you buy your Kindle, so it's important to know which one is best for you. In today's video, we'll be doing a deep dive into storage capacities on Kindle and really figure out why somebody might want to consider using a higher storage capacity Kindle. We're first going to look into the settings of the Kindle and see where you go to see your storage capacity and all the stuff taking up space. Once we figured that out, we're going to look into seeing what exactly is taking up space on my Kindle Oasis over here. And then lastly, at the end of the video, we're doing a recap of everything and giving you my personal thoughts when it comes to storage capacity on Kindle. Let's get started. Now on your Kindle, they actually have a very robust section for looking at storage on your device and seeing exactly what's taking up space, and you can actually remove things to free up some space if you happen to be running out of space. However, getting to the storage capacity section is not the simplest thing in the world, and that is because most people will never have to go in here. It's one of those things you really shouldn't be having to do because most people don't use up much storage on their Kindle. However, if you want to know where it is, it's pretty simple. The first thing you have to do is go to your settings on the Kindle, device options, then under the advanced options section, you'll see the section for storage capacity. Once we're in this storage management section, we can see exactly what's taking up space on our Kindle and see how much space we have right now available on our Kindle. Now on my Kindle Oasis, I have the 8 gigabyte model over here, but it's only showing a total of 6 gigabytes of space. This is normal. No matter which capacity you get, the system files and operating system of the Kindle will take up some space, so you actually aren't going to be getting the full amount of storage that's being advertised. You'll be getting just a little bit less. So in my case, I actually have 6 gigs of usable storage on my Kindle. All right, the next thing we're going to do now is poke around a bit and see what exactly is taking up all this storage space on my Kindle. I have quite a bit of space free, but I also have quite a bit of space being used, and you'll see in a second what exactly that is. What I'm going to do now is go to the manual removal section, and this will actually list out book by book everything that's being used. And you can actually divide it up by books, audible content, etc. Let's go to the book section first over here, and the biggest book I have on my Kindle is actually something I didn't download myself. It's something that came with the Kindle, and that's the dictionary. Chances are your dictionary will be the biggest book in terms of file size that you have on your Kindle. If I scroll through the rest over here, everything else is only a megabyte or 2 at the most, and in fact I have quite a few books that are under a megabyte of space. Now as you see, I have dozens of books on my Kindle, and I'm barely using up any storage space on my Kindle. That is why Amazon will advertise that every Kindle, regardless of which storage capacity you buy, can hold up to thousands of books, and that is because books simply don't take up much storage space. They are just large text files, and those don't need much storage. So if you think of it this way, if you only read books on your Kindle and do nothing else at all, you can literally have thousands and thousands of books, a lifetime worth of books on your Kindle with the lowest storage capacity that they sell. You don't need much storage if all you're doing is reading books on your Kindle. Now where storage becomes a bit more important is when it comes to the non-book items on your Kindle. The biggest one is probably going to be Audible books. If you go back now to the Audible section, you'll see I have 2 audiobooks on my Kindle. Now I typically listen to audiobooks on my phone, but just for example purposes, I downloaded these 2 books to my Kindle. I can wirelessly connect my Bluetooth AirPods to my Kindle and listen to them that way. And if you do that, you'll see the storage is being used quite a bit for these audiobooks. Now you see I have the 2 books over here. One's 100 megabytes and the other one is 200 megabytes. It'll really depend on how long the audiobook is, but let's just take for example the high end of 200 megabytes. If you do the math of a 6 gigabytes of total available storage on your Kindle that ends up being 25 to 30 audiobooks you can fit on your Kindle without maxing it out completely. Now, I know that might sound like a small number compared to thousands of regular books, but in reality, 25 to 30 books is a ton of audiobooks. I don't know anyone who reads 25 audiobooks at the same time. What you typically do is listen to one, delete it, find another one, maybe have a few going at the same time, but never more than 5, 10, 15 books at the same time. That is a bit too much to keep track of. You don't need that much storage for audiobooks. You can still have a comfortable amount of Audible books as well as regular books and still have a ton of storage to spare if you're a normal reader like me. Now, there is still one section left that might actually change this for some people, and that is the documents section. If you're somebody who likes to put custom documents on your Kindle, like PDFs or maybe custom books that you make yourself, whatever it might be, that is where you probably will be getting into storage issues. That is because some PDFs, especially large textbook files, things like that, those could take up a ton of storage on your Kindle if you aren't careful. Let's take a look at that real quick. Now you see for me over here, I really don't have any PDFs on my Kindle. I only have the clippings file, which is normal for every Kindle. All your highlights will be placed in there. But when it comes to PDFs, if you're a student especially, and you use your Kindle for reading PDF files, there's a good chance you'll be having some stuff in here that takes up some storage space. PDF files can be as small as a few megabytes, or they can be as large as several hundred megabytes. It really depends on what you're reading. If you have a bunch of PDFs, that could definitely take up a bunch of storage space. However, just like everything else we've talked about so far, chances are you don't need to have that many PDFs on your Kindle at any given time. You typically read through a few important ones, then move on to the next ones and remove the old ones. Just like reading books. After you finish a book, you can remove the old book from your library and still have it in the cloud. You really don't need to keep all these files locally on your Kindle. So even if you have PDFs, audiobooks, and regular books, unless you're reading a bunch of stuff all in parallel at the same time, chances are your storage will be just fine. All right, to recap over here, 32 gigabytes of storage is a ton of storage for most Kindle users. The Signature Edition Kindle Paperwhite has 32 gigabytes, but chances are 90% of people who get that model will not be needing that much storage capacity. 8 gigs of storage is more than enough for most readers out there that use a Kindle or any other e-reader device. The only time where you really have to worry about storage capacity is when it comes to audiobooks and personal documents. Those two file types take up way more storage than books will ever take, so it's really important to know how you'll be using your Kindle for your personal needs. But even if you do put a bunch of audiobooks and a bunch of PDFs and a bunch of files on your Kindle, you can still remove the old stuff and make room for new stuff and get away with the lower storage capacity. There's a really low chance of you putting that big of a file on your Kindle that takes up so much space where you can't do anything else. Now, even though Kindles don't really need much more storage capacity, chances are in the future, with technology advancing and storage becoming cheaper and cheaper for Amazon to put in their Kindles, we'll probably see higher storage capacity Kindles come out, but I don't think most people will need that much storage unless they add other features like note-taking abilities with the pencil or something like that. That might cause more storage to be needed, but just for reading books, you don't really need much storage to do that. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about this. How much storage capacity are you using on your Kindle? Leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video, chances are you might enjoy my other video talking about 15 hidden features on your Kindle. We explore things very similar to that hidden storage management setting section that we showed earlier today. If you want to learn more things like that, check that video out. Link on the screen right now. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.